What is a school resource officer supposed to do? On the day of another mass shooting, officers that protect students are in mass training in Colorado. Let's have a fireworks show. Where should we have it? How about next to neighborhoods that burned down in the Marshall Fire? Yeesh. About that, Excel wants a judge to toss the lawsuit blaming the utility company for the Marshall Fire, a lawsuit that does not necessarily need facts to continue. She's a black packer who practiced on Colorado's mountains for an even tougher adventure. And those car insurance solicitors are sure getting out of hand. What's your greatest of all time caption? We want to share it next. It's America's birthday, number 246. Here's another number for you, more than 300. According to the nonprofit Gun Violence Archive, there have been more than 300 mass shootings in America this year, with the newest today in Highland Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. 6 people died, 38 are hurt. Police now say a 22-year-old man was taken into custody without incident after firing from a rooftop into a July 4th parade. We don't yet know why today or why this parade. We do know this happens over and over in America. Schools are frequent targets, and the people tasked with protecting them gathered in our neck of the woods today. The National Association for School Resource Officers has its national conference in Aurora this week. Amid headlines of a failed response in America's most recent school shooting and calls to get police officers out of schools, Steve Steger asked the head of the group how the job has changed in the last few years.
As headlines of America's latest mass shooting broke, a group of officers in Aurora heard from someone who's been there. Lieutenant Brian Murphy shot 15 times as the first responding officer to the Sikh temple shooting in Milwaukee in 2012.
But if you're walking into
He's training these school resource officers on use of force.
You're hearing a small context of the training.
DJ Sheff is the president of the National Association of School Resource Officers, in town this week for their annual conference. In town at a tough time for school resource officers, with calls to remove them from schools and the recent botched response to a school shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
There's a lot of media. There's some social media. There will be some groups that will, without good knowledge, without good information, just based off of emotions, may choose to say we shouldn't have a police officer.
Sheff acknowledges that some SROs have been problematic.
The problem is we put a blanket policy over everyone, right? If one thing happens, and it's tragic, and most of the times if those tragic things are happening, we're screaming, this is bad, this is not good. Make sure you come and to get trained appropriately.
Officers and police leaders here are getting a lot of training about picking the right people for the job and making sure they know how to do it.
Not every police officer fits the mold of a school resource officer. So we encourage and we have recommended practices on how do we select those individuals. And then we want to make sure that we specifically train them in the role of a school resource officer, working with adolescent brain, working with special education, diversity, de-escalation.
A major theme here this week is to educate the public about what an SRO is supposed to do.
Oftentimes people think that our mission is to go in and arrest students. In reality, our goal is to not arrest. We don't want to be arresting kids. We know that there's trauma that is involved with arresting our kids.
Recruitment is also an issue here. Sheff told me that it is an issue with all law enforcement jobs, but he does say they hear anecdotally that a lot of people drawn to law enforcement these days say they got that idea because of a relationship they had with a school resource officer. He also talks a bit about tragedy, the shootings that we see in the media. He says what we don't often see are the shootings that are prevented because an officer may get involved beforehand, may have built a relationship with a kid beforehand, and somebody reports something and it doesn't happen.
I can imagine that happens often, that we get wind of the negative ones more often than the positive ones that never make the headlines and they don't get the kudos they deserve in some cases.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair criticism that the media doesn't tend to cover things that don't happen, right? But there's a matter of privacy there.
Sure.
I think we would cover something if we heard about a plot that was foiled.
Absolutely.
We'd want to cover the good police work. It's just kind of like it's a balancing act, and it's tough to bring attention to that kind of stuff.
This PSA brought to you by Steve Steger.
Yes.
We will cover the positive also.
We'll cover anything.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
A fireworks show where a neighborhood was destroyed by fire. The fireworks will go on tonight in Louisville, weather pending, 6 months since the Marshall Fire, near a neighborhood that's no more. Some neighbors tell us they find the show insensitive and unnerving. A city spokesperson said others want to continue the tradition and celebrate with their community. The fire chief thinks this might be the city's final year of fireworks. Next year, they might consider drones.
I think that's the way of the future. Climate control, trying to look at those items. Our planet is getting drier and hotter.
Tonight's fireworks show is at Coal Creek Golf Course, which is right along Highway 36, where you can see the remains of homes just off the golf course. Those homeowners are still clearing debris from the Marshall Fire and don't want to risk another one. The city has extra fire crews on standby and will cancel tonight's show if the winds are too strong. Xcel wants a judge to get rid of a lawsuit that blames the utility company for the Marshall Fire. It's a good reminder that 6 months later, investigators still have not revealed a cause. 9 Wants to Know has shown 3 possibilities: burning on private property near the origin, coal seams burning underground, and arcing power lines. A March lawsuit focused on the arcing power lines and Xcel, a lawsuit that Xcel wants dismissed.
Oh!
Xcel wants a judge to toss a lawsuit that blames the utility for being a substantial factor in the cause, origin, and continuation of the Marshall Fire, in part because of this video showing an arcing power line near the origin of the fire at Marshall Road over Highway 93. In court filings seeking to have the potential class action lawsuit dismissed, Xcel wrote the video does not show sparks igniting a fire. Rather, it shows that the Marshall Fire was already ablaze. After the arcing power line video, more footage shows the smoke well into Superior.
For dismissal at this early stage, you have to consider whatever's in the complaint as true.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson explains that a liability lawsuit seeking to become a class action lawsuit can lay out broad claims to start, but eventually needs to be able to back them up as fact.
You have to show that Xcel's conduct was not just negligent, but that it either caused or contributed to the cause of the Marshall Fire.
Xcel also wants the lawsuit tossed because of something called the filed rate doctrine. This refers to tariffs approved by state regulators, the Public Utilities Commission, the PUC. Tariffs that dictate how Xcel constructs, operates, and maintains its equipment. Xcel says the lawsuit shows no facts that the company failed to comply with those standards set by state regulators.
This is a bit of an extension to basically say, since we're governed by the PUC, we can't be liable no matter how careless or negligent we are. That may be a step too far for that doctrine.
Bottom line, for the lawsuit against Xcel to have legs, dots will need to be connected. That an arc like this led to or contributed to the fire, or that Xcel was negligent with its equipment.
You got to show causation, and without it, you've got no claim that would ever get to a jury.
This lawsuit is seeking to be a class action. It's in the early stages. This request by Xcel to have it dismissed is the typical step after being notified of the lawsuits. Interestingly, every judge in Boulder District Court recused themselves from this case. It may get shifted to Denver Court, but right now a Jefferson County judge is overseeing the case. There was a time Memorial Day was the date to circle for pool openings. It's July 4th, and pools across the metro area have had a heck of a time staffing lifeguards, meaning inconsistent hours of which pool is open when. The state awarded grant money to help local jurisdictions pay to keep lifeguards, train and hire new ones, and give bonuses to anyone who wants a summer tan and life-saving duties. The goal of the grants was to get pools staffed for today. Did it work? We don't know exactly. We know the state gave grants to 71 cities or special districts that manage pools, from Aspen and Aurora to Windsor and Yuma. The grants maxed out at $25,000. Since today is a holiday and people might be at the pools, we just don't have a total pool of money that went into getting the pools on normal hours yet again. We're a big fan of texting here. You text us every week for the Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign. We send you back links. It's great. You can even text us your thoughts and feelings about the show, although it's harder to keep track of all those. Well, Larimer County wants you to text them if you're looking to hang out. The Larimer County Department of Natural Resources has a new text system to let people know when parking lots at reservoirs and open spaces are full. This is an opt-in service. You have to proactively do it. If you choose to opt in, you'll get texts when parking lots are 80 to 90% full. The phone number you need to text is on your screen, and you'll text either LC Boating or LC Open Spaces, depending if you want a boating parking lot or a hiking lot. Once you've done this, you're going to get the text even when your plans do not include boating or hiking. Which brings me to the portion of the show where I say, hey, you should also sign up for your city or county's emergency alerts. This parking lot text is only for parking lot updates. You won't get severe weather alerts or any other emergency alerts. So, also sign up for your local emergency alert. You can find a story with links on the next page of 9news.com. There are Coloradans looking for work, even in this new now hiring era. Kyle has an update on your fundraising efforts for Mile High Workshop, last week's Word of Thanks micro giving campaign.
Happy 4th. Thank you all for your support of Mile High Workshop, the nonprofit that helps Coloradans with barriers to employment like past incarceration or addiction or homelessness get into the workforce. They do some contract assembly work, and then they are able to take that work history to a new employer. Since last week, you've raised more than $10,000 to help them expand their work in our community. So far, your Word of Thanks campaigns have raised more than $9 million. We're always on the lookout for an idea of the next great nonprofit that we could help. Email those ideas to next@9news.com. I read each and every one. I'll be back with the next idea on Wednesday.
Fireworks commercials for fireworks not legal in Colorado. Some of you are asking why. We've been here before. Let's revisit the answer. Sometimes you just gotta hike. We check in with a local hiker who's changing up her strategy on a really intense hike. The goats are home. It's the cars that are visiting. Think you know what the goat's doing? Let us know. We may share it next.
My name is Destiny.
I'm Shy.
And we're looking forward to our 1-year anniversary.
Anniversaries happen every year. You know what else happens every year? Commercials about fireworks, sandwiched by people on the news talking about illegal fireworks. Rob and Harry emailed us over the weekend asking why the station runs ads for a fireworks company in Wyoming. Others have asked the same in the past. I have answered it in the past. 2018 Marshall may not have known what 2020 had in store, but he knew the answer to the fireworks question. And that brings us to a thorny issue that many of you have brought to our attention. You've noticed we have a fireworks ad airing on 9 News. I'll warn you, we checked the commercials log, and that fireworks ad is going to air later in Next. First, you need to know that news doesn't talk to sales about the ads that air, and sales doesn't talk to news about what to put in this newscast. The company line is that we're the public airwaves and we provide opportunities for all advertisers, and that it would not serve our community if we adopt policies that restrict access only to advertisers we approve. Our airwaves go into Wyoming, so there are people who see our signal who live in areas where fireworks that are sold in Wyoming are legal. And for those who live here and choose to go there for fireworks that are illegal here, don't bring them back and set more of this state on fire. That's pre-tie clip, Marshall. Multiple large wildfires burned Colorado in 2018, including the Spring Creek, Lake Christine, and 416 fires. They were some of the biggest until the 2020 wildfire season. And we checked the logs that show us what commercials will run for the rest of the newscast. No fireworks commercials the rest of this. Next.
Well, we had a very hot afternoon. We're slowly starting to cool down a bit. We reached 95 degrees in Denver. A lot of the Front Range and Eastern Plains in the mid to upper 90s, even triple digits further east. Upper 80s out west, 70s and 80s in the high country earlier today. Now, right now, we're starting to cool down just a tad as the sun starts to set. We're at 93 degrees right now in Denver. Colorado Springs actually got below 90 just now. So as you take a look at our HD Doppler radar, we are continuing to monitor this monsoonal moisture that's just been making its way into Colorado Colorado from the southwest. Now here in Denver, we're staying mostly dry, but you can see off to the west foothills and high country, still seeing those scattered showers and storms as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon. Overnight, everything clears out, and as we make our way through Tuesday, we wake up dry and sunny. Cloud cover moves in midday, then in the afternoon, 2, 3, 4 o'clock is where we start to see these very spotty brief showers move across the state, and then we want to watch for those isolated storms as we go through the rest of the afternoon. Most of the stronger stuff is expected to fall a little bit further northeast. But because of the rain showers that we have another flash flood watch that'll be in effect tomorrow from 3 to 9, so you're going to watch for localized flooding there. And as far as those stronger storms tomorrow afternoon, the far northeastern corner of Colorado is under this marginal risk for severe weather, so we're going to watch for lightning, locally heavy downpours, and some strong winds there. Overnight, everything clears out. We're in the lower 60s. In the next couple of days, we see more chances for those afternoon showers and storms to push in. Temperatures in the low 90s and upper 80s until next weekend, where you see those temperatures get really hot. We're pushing 100 degrees on Saturday.
Thanks, Lauren. Oh, this might be one of my favorites. It's the most Colorado thing we've seen today from a safe distance. Okay, so when I push, you pop the clutch. I mean, what else would the goat be doing? Mary sent us this picture of a goat in the Mount Evans parking lot. She tells us she snapped it with a good zoom lens, giving the goat plenty of space. What it's really doing is less exciting than what I want to believe it's doing. It's licking traces of salt off the car, as goats are known to do. But come on, it looks like so many other things could be happening here. Maybe checking the goatee in the reflection. We're open to suggestions that I can read at the end of the show. Let us know. A hike in Colorado prepared her for a hike 5 times as long. This time, she's taking a different approach. And we're getting some feedback about some of the Avs' behavior last week. So we give it the F of July treatment. F for fourth. Next. May I make a recommendation? This is the part of the newscast where I can speak and we point to work that isn't ours, but we think you should check out. Patricia Cameron is a thru hiker that we featured on Next before. Last time we talked to her was in 2020 when she was on the Colorado Trail, which stretches from Denver to Durango. This year, she's hiking the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, and she's writing about it for Backpacker magazine. Cameron calls herself the Blackpacker and runs a nonprofit by the same name dedicated to increasing access to the outdoors. The PCT is about 5 times longer than the Colorado Trail, and this time Cameron says she's just vibing. No strenuous plans, tight deadlines, or required daily mileage, just hiking and solving problems as she goes. Her latest feature for Backpacker explains why she's taking this approach and some of the work she did on her mental health between the 2 thru hikes. We'll post a link on our Next Facebook page. Some of you had thoughts about the Avs Stanley Cup parade last week. That and your captions for the GOAT. Next. We've had a while to let the Avs Stanley Cup victory sink in, and perhaps some time for the Avalanche players themselves to recover from last week's parade. We got a fair amount of feedback about some of the drinking and cussing during the parade. We get it, but we also get that it was a parade with hockey players celebrating a massive victory. So we decided to edit some of those moments for you to be a bit more patriotic.
And guess what? The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been amazing for the last 10 years. As much as I love these guys behind me, this is for you, Denver. We love you guys.
I like the subtle sparkler. I think that was in Nichushkin's hands. Some feedback on the captions for the GOATs. Lisa Zellinger-Cohen, I wonder if she's related to me. My sister says, hello, we've been trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty. Brian writes in, I'm not really fond of tailgoaters. It's a pun. It's a dad joke. It's funny.